Welcome back to the Hockey Show, and today we are talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs, the team of the league that is just so funny to watch. It is so funny to just take in the content, everyone's opinions, everyone's views on them, how it's the biggest fan base with the most ridiculous of fans that just love this team so much and get so excited just to always be let down. And it's just so obvious that it's going to happen every single year until this team realizes what its true issues are. Because what its strengths are absolutely true, are its strengths. You want to take a look at their core four of Matthews, Marner, Tavares, Matthews. All of them in the 20s of points. Matthews currently fifth in the league in goals scored, and he could win the Rocket again. Absolutely. I mean, Marner, Nylander, Tavares all having fine years for themselves. Like, nothing is wrong with them, right? That is their strength, and that's one thing that the team can hold on to and say, we have top athletes on our team, top end stars. Absolutely. That isn't the question about this team. This team's issue is every single thing else about them. When it comes to defense and it comes to goaltending, right, one of the things that is shown for the last 5 Stanley Cup champions, the ones that the Coyotes have all beaten, that defense, having a solid defensive squad is the key to success, whether it's offensive like the Colorado Avalanche style, or if it's defensive like the Vegas Golden Knights, or just a solid unit like the Tampa Bay Lightning. These teams, they have defense that can shut down teams, and just any line that's out there can just go out there and just play brilliant hockey and give their team a chance to win, including their goaltender to save their lives at the end of it, to save their necks when they need them there. The Toronto Maple Leafs, for the last 5 years that they've been in contention to be a contender, they have not had that one single time, and people still think they're going to win. You take a look at this team's current status. The beginning of the season, people just losing their minds over, just getting absolute Polaroids that they are going, this is the year. They've got the piss and vinegar in Max Domi, who finally has scored his first goal of the year in, was at the end of November, beginning of December, game 22 of the year. He's got 12 points, and first goal of the year finally scored at this point of the season. He's not doing a whole lot. Ryan Reeves already become a scratch player like he should be. And Tyler Bertuzzi's got 9 points on the year, which is just not what they brought him in for, right? And I was a sucker as well. I fell into the trap. I was like, look at this. Look at this squad that they're putting out here, right? At top 6, fine. Matthew Knies, if he can pull his weight, 11 points. Not that bad for his true first, go at the NHL. Not too bad there, but not top 6 material, really. I mean, when he's got those other 2 guys, I guess it's fine. Bertuzzi, not really anything, and then the bottom 6 is nothing. And then you get to the D core is just abysmal. The core, you've got Morgan Riley, who is an absolute stud, and I will say is one of the, maybe an underrated player in the NHL. But everyone else, when it comes to TJ Brody, who's just been a joke and has just a liability a lot of times, especially in the playoffs. When you get to just everyone on that D-core, it just becomes a true sadness. And then you get to the goaltending, and that's even worse. I mean, Wall can play stellar, but he's not a goaltender that's going to bring you through the Stanley Cup playoffs. He's not going to bring you a President's Trophy. So no matter what happens with this Toronto squad, it is not going to be good. And it's like, well, what could they add? Well, let's look at a team who is, I would say, in a similar way, at least this season, to what this team should be in the Vancouver Canucks, where they've got 4 outstanding offensive players. And then what else happens? Well, then you got to fill in the rest of the spots, right? And that's what Vancouver has done. They have the top 2 lines, which are absolutely solid. You've got the third line, which is kind of like the Vegas Golden Knights, where they've got Joshua on there. They got Bluger. They got some other just solid guys who are going out there to fight for their lives and play just good 2-way hockey and just play, they want to win. You take a look at the Toronto Maple Leafs third and fourth lines, and it's just like these guys are just thrown out there because they need guys that aren't named Matthews, Marner, Tavares, and Nylander. But then you get to Vancouver's defense, right? And that is where things are completely just where Vancouver succeeds, at least this season, is where everywhere that Toronto has done for the last few years has failed at. Where you have a defensive squad of Hronik, where they pick him up from Detroit in a pretty interesting trade at the time where I was like hugely against it, and I'm like, this worked out amazingly, I'm an idiot. But you get a guy like Hronik for next season, and you already had Quinn Hughes, who was already an absolute superstar, and people are now finally like really opening their eyes to it. But anyways, you have Hughes, you have Hronik, who are playing outstanding. You bring in Nikita Zadorov, who is a shutdown machine and a giant. You have Myers, who's an absolute giant as well back there. You have a guy like Carson Soucy, who's a defensive genius, and then whoever the sixth man at the time, depending on injuries and whatnot, for that team. They have a outstanding defense that can bring offense to the table, shut down other teams, and at the end of the day, they have Thatcher Demko in net. The Toronto Maple Leafs, when they need a defensive guy to build it for the playoffs, they go for Jake McCabe from the Chicago Blackhawks. That's who they go to. In the offseason, when it comes to free agency, who do they pick up for defense? They grab John Klingberg, who has been nothing special for the last few years. Toronto is an abysmal franchise that doesn't know how to run itself, and I don't know when the idiotic people will open their eyes and finally realize to stop wasting their time with this team. I realized it. My favorite team growing up was the Sharks, and they were for the longest time. My heart still beats for them, right? I will still bleed teal, but this team, they have completely made me an anti-fan. I'm against them. Their moves don't make any sense. Their leadership doesn't make any sense. Just they have done everything to make me mad as a fan, and I have turned away from them. Toronto fans, I don't know how you don't do the same thing. Because for some teams, it's like, sure, your team can suck and you can still be a fan of them. It's like, sure, we don't have a good team. Like the Coyotes, you know, I'm cheering for the Coyotes. And I'm like, this team, like, they sucked and the team didn't know what they're doing with themselves. But at least some things that they do, I can cheer for, and I can see the building blocks coming. With the Sharks, they just do everything wrong. In Toronto, it's the same thing. You should look at what Vancouver has done. Look who they've added. That Toronto could have. Hronik and Zadorov, right? Two defensemen that they added to their ranks. Could you imagine how much better just those two moves could have been? What if they signed Cam Talbot instead of the LA Kings did? What if they brought in Eunice Korpisalo, which he's not an outstanding goaltender in the NHL, but he's someone better and a goaltender that you could have at least tried to put out there and show that you're trying. Instead, they stick with guys like Samsonov. They get guys like Martin Jones, who they're not really even given that much of a chance to. They have a guy in Joseph Wall that is okay. Everything that this team has done is wrong. And you can just look at other teams and see what they have done and what Toronto could have done for themselves. But instead, they've done nothing. And just it's the same old with this team. Just always abysmal, and I don't know how anyone still cheers for this team. I don't know what the purpose of this video was. I just woke up and I saw something on Instagram, some channel I've never heard of before, and they're talking good about the Maple Leafs, and I was like set off by that. So I made this video for that. So anyways, that is all I've got to say. So if you made it this far, please, if you're a Maple Leafs fan, don't be too mad. And if you're anyone else, please subscribe. And if you're a Maple Leafs fan, I get it if you don't. But anyways, thank you. I'm begging you. Please subscribe. And until next time, too sweet. Have an amazing day. And ta-ta for now.